My beautiful women, famous 5-figure day women, I am so excited to have you here. Here's what I want you to know. This is where we burn the rituals that you've been following, where you've been unknowingly seeking safety in someone else's strategy. And this is where you become, like I said, the famous 5-figure day woman who's known for her impact, who has an obsession-worthy following, and she breaks the internet with her unapologetic presence, aka you lead your way. Because the truth is, F her way. It was never about anyone else, anyone else's success, anyone else's blueprint, anyone else's this way is the way. Nope, it was always your way. And if you're feeling this, can I get a hell yeah in the chat? If you're like, yes, this is me. You're speaking to me. I'm excited. This is everything. Okay, perfect. Hell yes. So today we're diving into the self-concept gap to activate the identity of the famous 5-figure day woman. And give me a little wave if you've ever felt like you had to get people to understand your work. Yeah. Which then makes you feel like, I'm convincing. And then you find yourself over-explaining, justifying your pricing. And then what happens is you pull back on your conviction so they don't think you're full of yourself or too much. Yeah, I'm seeing that dropping in the chat. Here's what I want you to know before we even tap into and activate this identity. Your audience can feel that. Okay. And so everything is a mirror. And when you're hesitating, they're hesitating too. And I used to do this. And this is what I call who I used to be, the strategy slut. Okay. I looked at everyone else's success strategy thinking it was going to save me. And the truth is, I found safety in it. I found safety in everyone else's success strategy. And what happened was I was posting every day, every single day, writing the emails, recording the podcast. And it came to a point where it was like, why am I investing $15K in strategy and I'm still capped at 2 to 5K months? I don't understand what's happening. I'm doing all the things, like I don't get it. And because of this frustration, and because I am a 3-5 projector, trial and error girly, I'm like, I've been doing what I was told to do, what you're supposed to do. So let me just trial and error, fuck around and find out. And that's exactly what I did. And so I decided to do something different. And I finally stopped looking at the business coaches, the content coaches, the messaging coaches to save me. And instead of looking at them, held up a mirror and I looked within me. Okay. And I looked at what was running the show. And the truth is that I had an identity of a broke bitch. Someone who had to struggle to earn success. Someone who had to overcome challenges to prove their worth, to then feel enough. And honestly, it was exhausting. So exhausting, so depleting, and so emotionally defeating. Okay? And I knew that if I wanted different results, I needed to behave differently. And I needed to hold different standards for myself. And I needed my brain and body to get on board with massive visibility, massive wealth, and massive fame. So I encoded a new identity. All right. And this identity got me out of logic. Manny Jen, yes. It got me out of logic and it got me out of lack. And what happened is I didn't do anything more. I actually did less, which sounds like, what? When you're living in logic and when we're so programmed and conditioned to be like, go, 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 hustle, 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 boss bitch, whatever, wake up and just feel like shit. No, I did less. I had my first 10K month. That became my standard on repeat. And then I collapsed that into a week and collapsed 10K into a single day. And here's what I want you to know. Some people call it quantum. I call it rich coded. And when you're rich coded, reality bends in your favor. When you're rich coded, wealth, fame, and visibility respond to you. Why? Because you got your brain and body on board first. because your body accepted massive visibility, fame, wealth, 10K days. You normalize that in your body first so that it can then land safely in your bank account for you to hold. All right. And so let me know in the chat if you're ready to become rich coded, and not rich coded my way, rich coded your motherfucking way. Yeah. Yeah, baby. I see you in the chat. Yes. I love it. Okay. So I'm going to share something with you. And that is, here's the thing. I'm in here at 12 a.m. Yes, queen. She's like, I'm ready. She's like, I'll sleep later. It's fine. We'll nap because we prioritize rest. Here's the thing that I want you to know. The only thing that's standing in the way of you becoming the famous 5-figure day woman, okay, and really identifying as her, here's what I want you to know. Please let this land however it wants to land. The only thing that's standing in the way of you becoming the famous 5-figure day woman is waiting for the evidence of the money to give you permission to operate as her now. Before I continue, I want to know how that landed in your body. Waiting for permission from money to let you know that you're allowed to operate as her now. What does that feel like for you? Are you like, you kind of called me out? You kind of called me out to call me forward. Yeah. Let me know in the chat. Because this is huge, okay? This is logic. When you're in logic, you're in lack. When you're in logic, you're waiting for anything and everything outside of you to come in to then give you permission that you're allowed to have a different identity, that you're allowed to be a big fucking deal, that you're allowed to be unapologetically that bitch, that you're allowed to be who the fuck you are, right? Whoever it is that you are. You're silly, you're sexy, you're fun, you're playful, you're magical, you're giddy, you're wild, you're a savage, you're you. And so many of us have been programmed and conditioned to be like, only when you have X amount of clients, then you're allowed to be like, yeah, bitch, I've arrived. Only when you're making X amount of money per month, then you're allowed to be like convicted in your body of work. I am here to call bullshit on all of that. Because what's happening is when you're in logic, you're in lack, you're waiting, you're creating further separation from the identity of the famous 5-figure day woman, and you're actually repelling the wealth, fame, and visibility that's waiting for you. And you're not here to repel. You're not here to repel the very thing that you want. You're here to magnetize. You're here to allow it in with ease, and not just once where it's like, that was fun. That was a fluke. No. Again and again and again on repeat, where it's a standard, where it's just who the fuck you are. Okay. And so we're going to clear out repelling energy that you are subconsciously and energetically not aware of. And you are going to become the woman whose identity, wealth, fame, and visibility respond to. I'm going to see what came through in the chat before I keep going. It felt like a call out, but also at the same time, a lie. Yes. And that's what we want. We want you to be aware of the lies, the bullshit brain beliefs that you hear and that your human's going to say to you, or kind of like whisper to you in that annoying way as you are up leveling, as you are identity ascending. Because truly the key to encoding a new identity is being aware of the lies, of the distortion of the truth, and to not be led by them. Because as you are becoming the famous 5-figure day woman, as you are up leveling in your life, in your business, in your brand, in who you are, how you speak, how you dress, how you be, when you are up leveling, your body's going to do this. Was that okay to say? Oh my God, I just said something super triggering on the internet. Ah! Was that okay to say? And here's the thing. I want you to feel that, because I never learned this in strategy when I was a strategy slut. I never learned to feel my emotions. I learned to override my emotions. I learned to out logic an identity that was running the show. And you cannot do that. You cannot do that. No matter how much strategy you have, you cannot out logic a broke bitch identity. An identity that's trying to keep you small, hide, shrink, and take you back to your comfort zone. And here's what's coming through that I want to ask you. Are you ready to be fully expressed and take ownership of the power and potency of your body of work? Are you so ready to be fully expressed as you, where you're not following anyone else's rules, where you get to say what you want to say because it comes from your heart, because it comes from your soul, because it comes from your wisdom? And are you ready to take ownership of the potency, I'm going to say this again, and power of your body of work rather than hiding from it, minimizing it, diminishing it? Because as women, we are taught time and time and time and time again, shh, don't say that. You sound conceited. Shh, don't dress like that in your gold. You're full of yourself. Who are you? We hear these things time and time again. We heard them growing up. You're too loud. You're too much. You dress too whatever. Be quiet. Shh. And if we don't speak to that part of ourselves and really face her head to head and talk to her, you're going to continue to unknowingly operate as her. And I'm seeing you drop in the chat. Yes, it's motherfucking time. Yes. And so here's what I want you to know before I go deeper into the identity. Guess who's going to make the decision for you to choose to encode a new identity? It's not going to be me. It's not going to be strategy. It's not going to be maybe the viral 15 reel hooks you saved on Instagram yesterday. Did I call anyone out? Guess who's going to make that choice and decision to encode a new identity? You. It's always been you. It was never outside of you. And you heard me say, I was looking at strategy to save me, and I found safety in strategy. Why? Because I could not find safety in myself. That felt unsafe for me to boldly and with conviction and certainty share, speak about, express my body of work as the one and only option. That felt wildly unsafe. And so what we do inside Rich Coded is we normalize safety in your body to hold massive visibility, to hold the power and potency of your body of work, to hold your desires. Because it's not about, let's ask it this way. Did you start your business for someone else? No. Maybe you were inspired by someone else, but you started your business for you, for source, for God, for universe, for your mission, your message, your movement. And so knowing you started your business for you, you get to decide how you want to run your business. You get to decide who you want to be leading your business. And I see so much on social media. Let me just give you an example, because I talked about saving the real hooks. I see everywhere on social media, it's like, make sure you say this in your messaging. Make sure that you have these 3 hooks. Make sure that you have there's all these rules. Follow the sales psychology structure. Make sure you hit these 3 different angles. Make sure you have this perfect call to action. Those things that I just said, what does that feel like in your body? Oh my God. Overwhelm. What actions do we take when we're overwhelmed? Yeah, barely any. None. We stopped. Yes. Constraining, rigid rules. Exactly. And so how many of you have, because I know that you are just so creative, you're so just like this magnetic potent force. How many of you receive like 117,000 ideas a day for your business, for your brand? And a lot of the times, yep, a lot of the times we're like, oh my God, these ideas are circling my field. But if we don't have this foundation in our body, which is the landing strip for the plane for those ideas to land, those ideas are just going to keep circling. And when they're circling, like I said, where it's like, follow this rule, do this with the real hook, the sales psychology, the CTA, when those ideas are circling, we don't have this foundation for the plane to land. We feel overwhelmed with our ideas and then we don't move forward, right? And you came here with your God-given gifts, your wealth weapon, your mission, your movement that only you possess. You came here to make a massive fucking impact. And in order to be impactful, we have to encode safety in our body, in our frequency, following an identity that has a certain energetic frequency so that those ideas can land so you can move forward. And so as I'm sharing this and as you're becoming aware of anything that's coming your way, I want you to know about the waiting. I want you to know about how waiting and logic can further separate you from becoming the famous 5-figure day woman. Because those ideas that are circling your fields, I'm going to be honest with you, at least 3 of them are your next $1 million, multi-million dollar idea. I know that for a fact. And so many of us get hung up on the how. Well, I have this thought, I had this vision that dropped in that I'm meant to speak on stages, that I'm meant to host a global tour, that I'm meant to be on billboards, on magazines, that I'm meant to work with like really high profile people. And you feel it and you get excited and then it's like, but how? But how? How many of you have done that? Because I know that so many of you receive these like insane visions of where you're meant to go. And let's be honest, because it's not here yet, does that feel really far away? Yes, Daily. Like your book that you want to write / are writing. Like the next international stage that you're going to speak on. It can feel really, really far away. When we are in logic, when we are up in our minds and not in our bodies, okay? And like I said, the only thing standing in the way of you becoming the famous 5-figure day woman is waiting for the evidence of money, of sales, of clients, and even for most of us of the achievements to then give us permission to operate as her now. But what if I can tell you something right now? What if the version of you who already has her best-selling book, who's already speaking on international stages again and again and again, who's already hosting and running her global tour, who's already on billboards, on magazines, who's already doing what it is that you want right now, already exists? What if there's a version of you who already has what you want and normalized it, already exists? Do you know that she already exists in the field? Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. So if she already exists, let me ask it this way. Why would we, in our current human form right now, where we are right now, why would we continue to identify, operate as, behave as, and emit a certain frequency associated with the version of you right here and now, rather than identifying with, operating as, behaving as, emitting the frequency of the version of you who already has what it is that you want? Why would we continue to do that? Because I have my hands like this. You're like, yes, fear, unsafe. So here you are right here, and here's a version of you who already exists. Logically, if we're looking at my hands right now, we could be like, oh my God, that's 5, 7, 10 years away. Okay. Logically, sure. But what if you could actually collapse timelines? You can encode the identity of her now who already exists in the quantum right here in the here and now, operate as the same frequency as her with new behaviors, with new standards, and you can collapse timelines and bring her in now and become her now? Do you know that that's a possibility? Okay. So here's what I want you to do. Knowing that this is the formula to collapse timelines, to identity shift, right? It's your new beliefs subconsciously that we are rewiring, and it which forms the tether. And then it's your frequency that emits the magnetic charge to collapse timelines. So can you commit to today, before I activate you, because something wants to come through right now, can you commit to today to operate as the version of you who's already speaking on international stages, who already wrote her best-selling book, who's already working with dream soulmate fuck yes clients, who's already on billboards, featured in magazines? Can you commit to behaving as her, having the standards that she does? We're going to talk about that a little bit later. And emitting the same frequency as her. Can you make the choice to do that? I want to hear a yes or a no. Can you make that choice to emit the same frequency as her? Yes. Okay. Absolutely. Do you see that you're the one who's making the choice? And because you're making the choice, do you see that you're in control? So do you actually need money, sales, clients to come in right this very moment to give you the permission to operate as her now? To emit the frequency as her now? To behave as her now? To dress as her now? To be her now? No. And do you see how simple that was? That you just made that choice. You made that choice, and you don't need anything outside of you to choose you, to choose what you want, to choose your desires, and to choose where you are going. Even when, especially when it makes no fucking sense to anyone else. And that is where the magic happens. That is where your impact happens. That's where your visibility happens. That's where the wealth of fame happens. That's where your millions, multi-millions of dollars running your company happens. When it makes no logical sense. Because we don't play in logic. Because we are rich coded.